Well, there's no other way to describe that other than absolutely embarrassing. 30-3 at halftime, and A&M comes storming right back and wins at 31-30. Unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable that this program, which has been so good under Shane Beamer over the last few years, has now had three meltdowns in the fourth quarter this year and second halves. The third quarter just destroyed Carolina, and for whatever reason, just Carolina could not get anything going in the third quarter or the second half in general. The first half, of course, everything was light. Everything was good. Everything was going Carolina's way. A&M was dropping balls, missed a field goal that clanged off missed two field goals, one which clanged off the upright and gave Carolina a shot, and then Carolina answered with the Nick Harbor touchdown right there at the end of the first half to go up 30-3. It just is mind-boggling and absolutely baffling that Carolina melted down that way. Credit A&M. They came back and won. They did everything that a good team does. Carolina did everything that a bad team does. And we have just seen great examples this year that we are just not a good team. Good teams hold on to that lead. I can't believe the defense just melted down the way it did. And you think about this. On the first drive that A&M had, it was 4th down and 12, and Marcel Reed just runs wide open to pick up a first down. And that was the play of the game there. Another play that sticks out to me in the second half is that it's 3rd down and 2, and then 4th down and 1. Both times they go to Matt Fuller. Why do you take the ball out of Lenora Sellers' hands? I don't care if it is Mike Furry or Mike Shula or whoever. You do not take the ball out of Lenora's hands there. And they have done that so often this year. Shane is clearly on the hot seat. If he survives this, I imagine he will, but he has a lot to answer for right now. Carolina is now eliminated from bowl eligibility. A&M will go on and probably represent the SEC, or at least they'll go on and have a chance to play for the SEC championship if everything else falls into place. There was nobody that I saw on X, Facebook, or wherever that looked comfortable with a 30-3 lead at halftime. All you needed was one score. One score to do it, and you couldn't. There's a lot of blame to go around. It starts with Shane Beamer, and it goes all the way down to everybody. Lenora Sellers, it goes everybody. The offensive line, the defensive line, just nothing could go right in the second half. I'm kind of at the point where Spurrier was after the Tennessee game in 2014, where he just walked out on the media. The game started out about as good as he could hope for. Carolina marches downfield, gets a field goal. A&M answers with a field goal, but you felt good at that point because you showed that you could play with them. And then everything just turned way up in your favor. I will say this. One thing in the first half that did not go Carolina's way that may have been a contributing factor to this, there were about 3 dropped interceptions around midfield or in A&M territory that if Carolina comes up with those, it's very good field position, and you may get more points out of that. So there were a couple of drops. One was by Fred Johnson. I think 2 were by Jalen Kilgore. Again, it's just so baffling. Yes, a lot of people are already calling for Shane Beamer to be basically tarmacked the way Lane Kiffin was about a decade and a half ago at Southern Cal. I don't know. I mean, at this point. And the reason I don't know is because you'll fire Shane, but who are you going to honestly go out and get? There is so much blame to go around for this. I don't know what the halftime talk was, but whatever it was, it didn't work. And whatever Mike Elko did, it did work. And that is, again, just absolutely embarrassing. You cannot surrender a 27-point lead at halftime and be okay. Jeremiah Donati is going to have a tough decision to make here. I'm not sure where I lie. My mind tells me that you bring Shane back, of course, but right now, after what I just saw, I don't know how I can defend that. I don't know how anyone can defend that. It's just been one of those years. You have good players. They have shown that time and time again. They've gone into fourth quarters of, I think, 4 games now in the conference with a chance to win. 3 of those, Carolina was leading. Missouri, Alabama, and today. And could not get it done. This year has been uncharacteristic for a Shane Beamer coach team to just absolutely melt down in the fourth quarter. I don't know where that has come from. Luke Day has done a good job with strength and conditioning, but for whatever reason, the offense just could not get it going at all in the second half. Some have said that he got conservative. I don't buy that completely, because if they were conservative, they weren't showing that on that fourth down I was talking about. They converted a fourth down late on the Harbor pass to the sideline, but it just was not enough. And all of a sudden, it's the fourth quarter, you're down by 1, and you look up and A&M's driving again, and there's 5 minutes to go, and you just kind of look at yourself and say, it's over. You just did not feel like, no matter what, unless you had like a pick 6 right there, that we were going to somehow manage to come back. This offensive line just could not hold up in the second half. The run game couldn't get going again. I don't know what happened, and no one knows right now. And again, Shane has a lot to answer for. Certainly, one controversial moment in the ballgame came on the Harbor touchdown, the last score of the game for Carolina, where the officer and Nick bumped into each other. And look, the guy told Nick to just get going. And it was, not a good look for him. But I think too many people read into that. I'm not too concerned about that, especially right now. But again, just 2 fourth down conversions for A&M in the second half, and that was the difference right there. So I don't know where you go from here. I thought Mike Furry, of course, had a really good first half. There's no question about that. Carolina finally crossed the 350-yard threshold, the only team that hadn't done that all season. And it still wasn't enough. 30 points was not enough. If you had told me we'd have been up 30-3 in College Station going into halftime, I think everyone would have taken that. And if you had told me that Carolina would end up losing 31-30, I would have had a hard time believing it, but I would have believed it. And what do you know? It happened. This one is an absolute gut punch. It is this one is just, there's no other way to put it. It's bad. And it's a horrible look for Shane Beamer. It's a horrible look for Carolina in general. Obviously changes are going to have to be made in the offseason somewhere. I don't know where. I'm honestly mostly stunned to see Clayton White's defense just absolutely collapse like that in the second half. Marcel Reed just absolutely, give him credit. He turned it on in the second half. And even still, A&M gave Carolina a chance. That's the unbelievable thing. Carolina turned it over, I believe, once today. I believe that's correct. A&M turned it over 4 times, and Carolina could not find a way to win. Where do you go from there? I really don't know. Because now you seemingly don't have anything to play for, because you are eliminated from bowl contention. Coastal's coming in next week. One thing I guess you can hang your hat on is that you showed that you could score points today and you could move the football. Even in the second half, there were times where Carolina could move the ball. Jaden Sellers had a very good day today. Lenoris just could not get it done at the end. And it is Again, he is part to blame. The throw he had that Jacobs could have caught and probably gotten a first down on in the third quarter, late in the third quarter. Carolina still had the lead at this point. That's on him. But he had some really good throws, especially in the first half. The 50-yard bomb to Jacobs, the catch that Harbor had was a really good throw by Carolina. Yeah, there were some conservative moments in the second half, but when you have a 30-3 lead, it's understandable that you want to get a little conservative. Nevertheless, though, it just melted down and got away from Carolina. And once the dam broke, Carolina couldn't stop it. I don't know where you go from here. That's going to be the biggest question now. There were a lot of questions coming into this game about Carolina's offense, how it would look, and all of a sudden it looked like it could compete with anybody. Then all of a sudden it looked like it had for the last 10 games under Mike Shula. And Carolina now falls to 3-7. You have an opportunity to come home and win 2 more games. If you win them, does that make up for this? Absolutely not. But does it do anything? Time will tell. I wonder what this will do for recruiting. You often don't look at ball games to determine recruiting, but at the same time, people notice. People will definitely notice, and things will be said about this game for a long time to come. And if Shane Beamer is somehow able to survive this and make it to the end of the season, he will definitely have a very, very warm seat that he will be sitting on because of this. He could have gotten himself right off of the hot seat had Carolina been able to hold on to this one. There's no question he would have. But instead, and there are just some things about him that rub people the wrong way. The way he came off the field at halftime, yeah, he's firing up the crowd, but yeah, you've got to remember, there are still 30 minutes to go in the game. And to come off the field looking like you've just won, bro, you have done a bad job of keeping your cool when things are going good and when things are going bad. Go back to the Citrus Bowl last year, where he absolutely melted down at Brett Bielema when Bielema gave the T sign to kind of rub, I guess, throw that in Carolina's face when, that was kind of the unsportsmanlike that Bielema wasn't happy with. I mean, Bielema's a jerk, don't get me wrong, but Shane just melted down right there, and it wasn't a good look. And there have been many of those since he has become the head coach at Carolina. He has done a very good job at Carolina, I would say. And by the way, today's the 5th anniversary of Will Muschamp being fired. Funny how that goes. There are just so many things that you have to answer for right now if you're Shane Beamer. And, there are a lot of questions that are going to be thrown. And today is going to put you under an unbelievable magnifying glass. I don't know if he can survive that. And I don't know if Carolina can afford to fire him right now, not because of a buyout, but because of just how many programs have fired head coaches this year. A lot of people have said that's not a good excuse. It kind of is. When you're going up against Penn State, LSU, Florida, Arkansas, just to name a few, you are not in a good position to go out and get the best head coach possible. Again, I think Shane has done a good job. A lot of people will disagree. They'll point at this game. Sure, I get that. Today was on him. Today was on him. It was on Mike Furry, Clayton White, the defense, the offense, Lenore Sellers, everybody. This was a total team loss. But again, I'm kind of at a crossroads myself. I don't know where you go from here. This is just one of those moments where you just look at what's ahead of you now, and there's not much. There's Coastal, and there's the Upstate School, who pulled one out of their rear ends yesterday and got a 1-point win. Thanks to a huge meltdown by Louisville. That's neither here nor there. The main thing is the meltdown we had today. And you just kind of wonder, what is it going to take to break through for this program? Not just And maybe it's not going to happen under Beamer. I don't know. There will be a lot of calls this week on 107.5 and a lot on Gamecock Central 24/7. There is going to be a lot of noise. And again, can Shane survive that? I have no clue. The running game not being able to get going in the second half was certainly, I think, a huge factor in this game. But again, the biggest factor is it was, I believe, the first drive that Carolina had after the first A&M touchdown. Carolina gets it 3rd and 2. They give to Fuller. He gets 1. Then Shane takes a timeout to go over the 4th down play, and it's Fuller again, and I want to say it was right up the middle. He lunged forward to try and get it and came up maybe about a half yard short. That's the thing that I have a problem with, because you took the ball out of your best player's hands. That's the inexcusable part. That has happened time and time again this season. I can't remember what game it was, but I know that happened earlier in the season. I want to say it was at Missouri, where Carolina did the same thing. They tried running it with the backs. That last drive, it was 2nd down and 1, and Carolina goes back to throw. That's where you have to really use Sellers and just try and get the 1st down. Or even at that point, run with Howell or whoever the back was at that point. Just get the 1st down and then go for your deep shot. Yes, 2nd and 1 oftentimes is a time to take a deep shot, but with A&M just dialing up pressure the entire time, you need to get as many yards as you possibly can, and instead Carolina just kept losing yards. That was a 10-yard loss. Then the next play, Lenoris drops back, 4-yard loss. You cannot have that happen. The offensive line has been pitiful this year. That's a collective effort again. Blame there can still go to Lonnie Teasley, but Sean Elliott does deserve his share of the blame. And it's sad, too, because today was a great opportunity to really just tone everything down, and instead everything gets ramped up, and you are not going to escape that. Whether or not he survives, again, I don't know. That's going to be the big question going forward. The next 48 hours are going to be very interesting. We'll see what happens. Does Jeremiah Donati make the move? I don't know. Part of me hopes not. Part of me would not be surprised, though. Again, I'm not in favor of it, but I would not be surprised if it does happen. That's where I stand. Again, worst defeat probably in program history, because you just cannot blow a 27-point second half lead and expect to not have that be seen. It's going to be replayed for weeks to come. That's going to be the defining moment for Texas A&M. If they go to the SEC championship, I promise you, this is going to get mentioned many times. Time will tell, though, to see what happens here for us here in Columbia. But it's there are some dark days ahead of us, no question about it. And today might be the darkest. So we'll see. Time will tell. Time will tell. Coastal Carolina next week at 4:15. We'll be back for a show then. Until then, let's just wait and see. If anything happens between now and then, of course, we will bring it to you. All right. See you next week.